Hello, everybody. Thursday, August 18th. It's noon, and it's time for another weekly real estate update with Jaden Bax.
Oh.
And Mark Newstater. That is me, of course, of eXp Realty here in Calgary. So much to get to today. I'm very excited to share with you the Q2 wrap-up. Interesting, statistically speaking, you're a staff nerd. I mean, get a coffee, get a beverage, and pull up a seat. We're not going to go over our normal time, but there's a lot to get to. So no delay here. There we go. So there's our weekly stats. We're going to go through this. Our this week last year, I still don't say it right. Jaden's rates, and then also we're going to start that Q2 wrap up. So another week of new listings and sales in terms of our summer market. So 266 new detached listings on 253 sales, with a sale to new listing ratio of 95%. So noticing a little trend here, right? At the end of July, it was at 65%, 81% last week, now 95% this weekend. Sorry, I did not update the actual dates there. It should be the 11th to the 18th. So yeah, anyway, so that kind of gives you a picture. We're trending upwards in terms of sale to new listing ratio on the detached side. Days on market still at 34 this past week. Price reductions of 245, so it dropped a little bit. Total detached listings, I mean, look at that. It's, we're not going up. We're actually sliding, which is good news if you're a seller, a little bit more challenging if you're a buyer. Overall, just generally speaking, with our total listings also dropping by 40 to 4,449. Looking back at last year, same week, we're down 3%, 3.5% in sales. New listings down 3.8%. Our inventory still stays around that 20 to 21% down from last year. And our pendings, look at our pendings, still 150% over last year. And that's kind of been a trend the whole year. If you looked at any of these videos over the course of all of 2022, that pendings number is always beating out last year's numbers. So why that is, I am not a economist, but it's interesting to note. And our days on market still at 34, and that's it's been in that 30 to 34 range really for the past couple of months. Last year was 42. So just interesting to compare year to year, because again, as we've been talking about the past couple of weeks, this theory that our market is crashing is just not the case, in my opinion. I think it's definitely shifted. But Jaden, over to you. And why is it shifting? Partly due to interest rates, right?
Yeah, and likely like this variable side, we're going to see another raise in September. Before we start to see a pullback in 2023 on that side of things. But honestly, from last week to the week before to this week, very few changes in interest rates. I think we're going to start seeing some of that fixed unconventional and uninsurable, coming down, as well as the fixed conventional, which is the 20% down plus. So pretty stable right now, but the fix is going to start coming down. I just wanted to mention very, very quickly, people always ask me, as a first-time home buyer, to prepare myself to buy, what is the biggest thing I can do? It's the 2-2-2 rule. Make sure that you have 2 lines of credit, 2 credit cards with a $2,000 limit, and have it for 2 years. Then you're ready to buy. So for all of you first-time home buyers out there, if you're thinking about it a couple of years down the road, get your credit lined up now.
Yeah, it's a great tip. So 2-2-2. So say it one more time. 2
lines of credit. So 2 credit cards, or a credit card and a line of credit that has at least a $2,000 limit, and you have to have it for at least 2 years. So 2-2-2.
I'm going to put that in the comments. So 2-2-2 for first-time home buyers, 2 lines of credit and credit cards.
Yeah, so it could be a line of credit or a credit card or a car loan or a cell phone bill, all of those kinds of things. But we just need to see 2 active lines of credit on your credit bureau for a 2-year history, and that opens you up to all lenders and all products.
Okay, all right, I'm going to put that comment in there. All right, so let's move on over. Is that it for you, Jaden? I know we're trying to get to
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so let's go to this is a lot of information on this screen, so I apologize, but this is kind of the best way for me to tell you what happened in Q2. So we're going to start with, we're actually going to go back to our detached segment. So you notice that, sales are only down 3%, I think it was. Let's go back to, so we look at sales are actually up 2.24%. But where did that come from is really the interesting thing, because our detached sales are actually down 14% in Q2. New listings were also down. They were down 12.3%. Inventory down 16.8%. And our sale to new listing ratio really very similar to last year at 71.5%. Days on market, though, significantly down even from last year, right? And last year, the market had started heating up. So that's on the detached side. So detached did not pull its weight in Q2. Semi-detached did not pull its weight in Q2. Sales are down just over 3.42%. So very similar to last year. List down similarly to detached, 12.9%. Inventory, Q2 inventory of semi-detached down 28% year over year. Sale to new listing ratio, again, very similar. It's actually up year over year 10%. So 76.1 days on market at 23, so a little bit above detached homes. Here's the big surprise. Row housing and apartment condos crushed it in Q2. Sales of row housing, townhouses up 36%. 36% up in Q2. Why is that? Well, because as these detached prices and semi-detached prices rise, that means if your income maybe didn't rise 15 or 20% or 30% year over year, right? So that leaves you in row townhouse category. New listings actually rose as well to kind of meet some of that demand. And then our Q2 inventory still, though, down 23%. So I said, how we say inventory is down 20 to 23%, 21%. These numbers all correlate to that. 77% of row townhouses sold in Q2. And then days on market, 23.6. And that's actually down, 43% year over year. 43%. So sales up 36, days on market down 43. That is a huge story, I think. And then honestly, the biggest surprise to me, check this out. Apartments up 46% year over year. You heard that right, 46%. So on this chart here, we're going to get a little bit into the weeds. So look at the highest increases in price change were in the Northeast, the East, and the Southeast. City Center was in the 0 to 10% range. We had 15 to 20% price increases, upwards of over 20% in the Northeast. I mean, those are numbers we've never, maybe ever seen before in apartment condo range. Inventory was down 26%. See, this is the interesting story, right? Like, you got to really delve into these stats, and that's why I wanted to do this today, to do a bit of a deeper dive into Q2. Now, what they are forecasting is that because of the rise in interest rates, they are forecasting that sales will slow down. So keep in mind, this is Q2. So this is April, May, and June. April was still a super, super hot seller's market. May, it still was. And then June, we started to trickle a little bit. So be super curious to see what July, August, September bring. So let's move on. So surrounding areas, I wanted to touch on this as well. Airdrie, which is my second hometown. Sales are up just a little bit. But look at that benchmark price, 25% up year over year. And then Okotoks, sales are up a little as well. Benchmark price up, I think that's 16%. Sorry, the numbers are super tiny on my screen. Strathmore and Chestermere, you can see those pink numbers there. They still have price gains, but sales are down 13% in Chestermere, and just let's call it flat in Strathmore. I think that's largely due to a supply issue. I think people love living in those two communities, but and similarly with Cochrane, High River sales are up a little bit. And then we just wanted to go specifically on Airdrie because that is the biggest community, not Calgary, right? There's upwards of 80,000 people that live there. So if we go a little bit more into the weeds in Airdrie, Inventory down 20% year over year, but sales are up 3.7. Sale to new listing rate basically 87%. That is higher than anything in Calgary, and days on market was also significantly lower than by a few days in Calgary as well. So I find that very, very interesting. Airdrie had all-time record highs in the second quarter, despite the pullback in detached sales. So again, just like Calgary, we saw a pullback in detached sales. You can kind of see the Cochrane numbers there. Again, these are all above long-term averages, right? So when people say markets are crashing, it's all relative to what? Okotoks sales up 5%, new listings up 2%, inventory down 20%, days on market similar to Airdrie. And look at that sale to new listing ratio. People love Okotoks. I love it too. 90% of listings sold there in Q2. There's a little bit more on Chestermere and High River. So, 11 minutes. I got it all in. But, to wrap up, what does this mean now, right? Like all these numbers, Mark, that's all great. If you're in the detached side of things in particular, I think there's still a great, I'll give you an example. Semi-detached, I wanted to go show a semi-detached home up in Cougar Ridge yesterday, been on the market 2 days. And they were getting multiple offers yesterday. I think 2 offers at noon yesterday for a semi-detached home in Cougar Ridge. So there are still pockets. I just was on a mastermind call this morning where there are still multiple offers happening. So there's still pockets of it, but you just got to plan that it's not Q1. We've shifted a little bit here. So you can see days on market, still not too bad. But we're not selling in a day, not 2 days typically on average, right? So if you're a seller, still a huge opportunity. Prices are way up even compared to last year, which were up from the COVID year, right? So still a great opportunity if you're a buyer. This buyer yesterday was pretty disappointed because he really liked that house. So I call it the cream puff. If it's a good house that shows well in a good location, good price, it's a cream puff. Other people will think that too. We're a city of 1.4 million people. There's enough buyers out there that will think that. So best advice is to actually act quickly. Once you've got your list set up and all that kind of thing, helped a client buy a house from Ontario the other day, and they had their list lined up, and we looked at a few homes on Friday, and they wrote an offer on Saturday, and it went unconditional or firm yesterday. So that's a great example. You have a really good list set up. You've talked to Jaden. You've done your 222. And anyway, that's enough of me. Thoughts, Jaden, on that whole Q2 wrap up?
Yeah, so the only thing that I'll say is that we have an anecdotal kind of story around that condo thing, right? So we had somebody who called me up and they said, I'd like a 2 or 3 year term. Can you beat my bank on my renewal on my condo? I really just want to get to that 3 years, get some value up, and then sell it. And I said, we bought it in 2014 and we just want to make sure we get back to our value. I said, well, yeah, you want to sell it? Why are you talking to me? Talk to Mark. He'll do a free home evaluation for you. He'll tell you where it's at. And maybe this is the best time to get rid of that condo if you're in that marketplace, right? So, just know what you want. If you're ready to sell, talk to Mark, see if now is the time to sell. If not, I'll renew you and we'll get you in 3 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just going to post your website in the chat here as well, in the comments, so on YouTube and Facebook. So then that way people can reach out to you directly. And in that case, just to wrap up that story, when I looked at pricing in that building, it was a condo right across from university, and she was actually surprised at what the pricing could be. Her challenge is she has a tenant there till February. So we're going to relook at things kind of in November and December. And keep in mind, you can sell a tenanted property. The only challenge is that tenant has a legal 90 days or to stay till the end of that lease term. So anyone who bought it would have to take over the tenant at least till the end of the lease. And if you're an investor, you got a built-in tenant there. So, there's so many different stories like that. There's, all these stats just to say that the best way to find out what's going on in the market is talk to me and talk to Jaden, because every situation is different. Every community is different. As you saw with those apartment condo gains, the Northeast and East, again, hit it out of the park for price increases. Downtown, not so much. So again, everything's different. Each situation is different. So yeah, that's about a wrap on Q2 and this week, Jaden.
It's a lot of information. Hope you can take it all in.
Yeah, awesome. Good stuff as always, Jaden. Thanks for doing that. And I posted his info in the chat there. So reach out to him, reach out to me. Enjoy the week, enjoy this hot weather as long as it lasts. Have a good one, everybody.